Vanessa Camargo was the kind of woman who seemed to have everything: beauty, success, and a life most people envied. But when her car was found abandoned on a lonely Texas highway, her story turned into one of the most shocking deceptions in modern true crime. Adon Croft, the mysterious private investigator once hired by Vanessa, vanished the same day she did, linking their fates in a web of lies. Sierra Dean, Vanessa's best friend, became the key to uncovering the horrifying truth behind a fake death that spiraled into murder. What began as a missing persons case would soon reveal a woman who didn't just disappear. She reinvented herself by destroying everyone who trusted her. The morning sun struggled to break through the thick fog that rolled across the deserted highway outside Austin, Texas. It was a quiet stretch of road, surrounded by fields and old wooden fences, the kind of place where traffic rarely passed. A silver Toyota Corolla sat motionless on the shoulder, its engine off but headlights still faintly glowing. The driver's door hung open, and inside the car lay a woman's purse, a phone, and a single high-heeled shoe resting awkwardly on the mat. The ID inside the purse identified the owner as Vanessa Camargo, a 28-year-old event planner from the city. Her car looked as if it had been abandoned in a hurry, but there was no sign of a struggle. When a passing truck driver spotted the empty car, he called the authorities, thinking perhaps there had been an accident. Soon, police cars lined the roadside, their flashing lights piercing through the fog. Officers searched the surrounding ditches, fields, and wooded patches, calling out Vanessa's name. But their voices vanished into the thick morning air. No body was found, no footprints in the mud, no bloodstains on the asphalt, just silence and confusion. Vanessa's fiancé, Cole Madrix, was notified hours later. He told police that she had left early that morning to meet a client at a nearby cafe, but had never arrived. He sounded frantic, confused, and afraid. Investigators began retracing her steps, starting with her phone. Her last call was made at 6:40 a.m., just 10 minutes before her car was found. The signal cut off abruptly, as if the phone had been turned off or thrown away. By evening, the story hit the local news. Photos of Vanessa smiling in bright dresses and holding her pet dog filled television screens and social media feeds. Friends described her as lively and organized, someone who wouldn't just vanish. The public was quick to suspect foul play. The open door and abandoned purse painted a haunting picture of a woman who may have been snatched from her car in broad daylight. Detectives noticed strange details that didn't match a typical abduction. There were no signs of forced entry on the car, and nothing appeared stolen. Her wallet, credit cards, and cash were all untouched. Tire tracks on the shoulder showed the car had swerved slightly before stopping, as if the driver had pulled over voluntarily. But what made investigators uneasy was the shoe, the kind of thing people don't just leave behind, unless something went terribly wrong. When a tow truck pulled the vehicle away that night, the highway felt eerily still again, as though nothing had happened there. But the officers knew this wasn't going to be a routine case. The vanishing of Vanessa Camargo would soon spiral into one of the most puzzling disappearances the county had ever seen. In the coming days, every small clue would twist into something bigger, darker, and far stranger than anyone could have predicted. What seemed like a missing person case was only the beginning of a deception that no one could yet imagine. Detectives spent the next few days reviewing every frame of surveillance footage they could find. Vanessa's silver Toyota was seen on a gas station camera about 15 miles from where her car was discovered. The timestamp showed her pulling in around 6:10 a.m., calm and collected. Wearing a white blouse and jeans, she filled the tank, paid in cash, and even smiled politely at the cashier. Nothing about her seemed distressed or hurried. But as investigators studied the reflection in the car's side mirror, they noticed something that changed everything. A dark sedan parked just behind her, its headlights faintly visible. The vehicle was traced to Adon Croft, a local private investigator. His name wasn't new to Vanessa's circle. Months earlier, she had hired him to follow her fiancé, Cole Madrix, believing he might be hiding an affair. Their professional connection ended quickly. But now Adon's reappearance in the footage raised questions no one could answer. Why was he following her that morning? And why had his phone gone dark the same night she vanished? Police went to Adon's small office in Austin, but the place looked like it had been cleared out in a hurry. His desk drawers were empty, and the computer was missing. Neighbors hadn't seen him for days. Detectives found only one clue, a partially shredded document in the trash, a receipt for a large cash withdrawal made by Vanessa herself. It seemed the two might have been in contact again, but for what purpose was still a mystery. Meanwhile, Vanessa's financial records began to reveal odd behavior. She had withdrawn thousands of dollars in cash over the past 3 months, each time from different ATMs across town. Investigators initially assumed it might have been hush money for an affair, or a payoff to keep someone quiet. But another detail caught their attention: an application for a new passport, filed under the name Veronica Cardenas. The birth date matched Vanessa's, but the address listed was fake. It was enough to make detectives wonder whether they were even looking for a victim anymore. The story spread rapidly online. Social media users debated whether Vanessa had been kidnapped, murdered, or had simply run away. Some suggested she had planned to start a new life. The press called it the Camargo mystery. Friends and family were divided. Some swore she'd never do something like that, while others admitted she had seemed distant and distracted in the weeks before she vanished. As the search continued, investigators received an anonymous email. The message contained only one sentence: "Look in the woods near Route 17. Attached was a blurry photo that appeared to show the back of Vanessa's car. When officers searched the area described in the message, they found nothing: no tracks, no signs of struggle, but the sender's IP address traced back to a computer belonging to Adon Croft. The more the police uncovered, the less sense it made. Vanessa's disappearance no longer looked like a random act or a tragic accident. It was beginning to seem like something planned, a vanishing act carefully orchestrated to mislead everyone watching. 2 weeks after Vanessa's disappearance, hope of finding her alive began to fade. Investigators were exhausted, chasing dead ends and false tips that led nowhere. Then, one morning, a call came from a hunter in a wooded area about 20 miles south of the highway. He had found a burned-out car deep in the forest, its frame barely recognizable under the ash. Detectives rushed to the scene, their boots crunching over blackened ground. When they ran the vehicle's identification number, confirmation came it was the same silver Toyota Corolla that had belonged to Vanessa Camargo. Inside the car's melted interior were fragments of jewelry, a scorched phone, and human remains. The fire had destroyed almost everything, but small traces suggested the victim had been female. The discovery spread quickly across the news, and everyone assumed the case had reached its tragic end. The missing woman, Vanessa, was presumed dead, and her story became another headline. But that conclusion lasted only a few days. Forensic testing revealed something that shocked investigators. The dental records didn't match Vanessa. The remains belonged to someone else entirely: Sierra Dean, Vanessa's co-worker and close friend. Sierra had been reported missing just 2 days after Vanessa vanished. She was last seen leaving a cafe where she worked part-time, telling friends she was meeting someone about a new job opportunity. No one saw her again. Her connection to Vanessa now painted a terrifying picture, and detectives realized they were no longer dealing with a disappearance. They were dealing with a staged death. The discovery raised one haunting question: where was Vanessa? Investigators dug into the relationship between the two women. Sierra and Vanessa had been inseparable for years. They worked together at the same event planning firm and often traveled together for business. But as police examined Vanessa's computer and emails, they found messages hinting at tension between them. Vanessa had accused Sierra of leaking financial records from their company. Those records showed large sums of money missing, almost $400,000 transferred into accounts linked to Vanessa. The timeline began to make sense. Vanessa had been quietly stealing company funds for months, likely planning to disappear before the truth came out. But when Sierra started asking questions, she became a liability. Investigators believed Vanessa lured her friend out under false pretenses, killed her, and used her body to fake her own death in the burned-out car. It was a brutal but calculated plan to make everyone believe she was gone forever. As officers pieced the evidence together, a chilling realization set in. Vanessa had been several steps ahead of everyone from the beginning. She had created a perfect illusion, a missing woman presumed dead while the real one walked free. Somewhere, far from Texas, Vanessa Camargo was alive, hidden behind a new name, and living off stolen money. But the investigation was far from over. The truth was catching up to her, and soon her carefully constructed lie would begin to collapse. The discovery of Sierra Dean's remains reignited the investigation with new urgency. Detectives now understood that Vanessa Camargo was not a victim, but a fugitive. Alive and on the run, the FBI joined the case, tracing her possible routes out of Texas using traffic cameras, financial transactions, and airport records. For weeks, there was nothing, no credit card activity, no communication, not even a digital footprint. It was as if Vanessa had vanished off the face of the earth. Then, 3 months after her supposed death, an unexpected lead surfaced. A hotel clerk in Mexico City contacted American authorities after recognizing Vanessa's photo from a missing person bulletin online. He claimed she had checked in under the name Veronica Cardenas, a detail that matched the fake passport application found earlier. Agents obtained surveillance footage from the hotel. It was grainy but clear enough to confirm her identity. Vanessa was alive, her hair now dyed blonde, wearing sunglasses and carrying a designer bag that investigators suspected was bought with the stolen funds. But the footage revealed something even more surprising. She wasn't alone. Walking beside her was Adon Croft, the private investigator whose car had been seen tailing Vanessa on the day of her disappearance. The man everyone believed to be missing had been with her all along. The revelation changed everything. Investigators now saw the bigger picture. Vanessa hadn't been running from danger. She had been running with her accomplice. Together, they had stolen money, staged a fake death, and fled the country. Adon's role became clearer when agents discovered that he had withdrawn over $50,000 in cash from an offshore account tied to Vanessa's stolen funds. The two had meticulously planned their escape, creating new identities, booking under fake names, and moving between border towns before settling temporarily in Mexico City. But the partnership was already falling apart. Witnesses from the hotel recalled heated arguments and Vanessa leaving alone one night with her luggage. Within days, Adon was seen trying to withdraw more money, apparently planning to disappear on his own. Authorities caught up with him at the border crossing into Arizona. During interrogation, he refused to say where Vanessa had gone. But investigators suspected betrayal between the two. When officers searched his belongings, they found photos of Vanessa with new hair, new clothes, and a fake ID card bearing the name Veronica Cardenas. Adon's arrest reignited the hunt for Vanessa. The FBI issued an international warrant and alerted Interpol. For a while, sightings poured in from Panama, Spain, and Colombia, but none were confirmed. Vanessa had become a ghost. A woman who had not only faked her death but erased her identity completely. The irony wasn't lost on investigators. She had planned the perfect escape, but greed and mistrust had made her reckless. Her decision to abandon Adon would prove to be her undoing. Somewhere out there, the woman who had fooled everyone was still alive, unaware that her trail was beginning to close once again. 3 years after Vanessa Camargo's disappearance, her name had faded from headlines. But the case was far from forgotten. Cold case detectives still kept her file on their desks, convinced she was alive somewhere. Then, in early 2020, a grim discovery brought her story back to life. Near the U.S.-Mexico border, construction workers unearthed a shallow grave during a road project. Inside were human remains wrapped in a tattered blanket, along with a faded passport and a small suitcase. The passport bore the name Adon Croft. Forensic analysis confirmed it was him, the private investigator, who had once been Vanessa's partner in deception. His body showed clear signs of poisoning and suffocation, suggesting someone close had silenced him. Next to the grave, investigators found a gold bracelet half buried in the sand. It was engraved with the initials VC. It was an unmistakable link to Vanessa Camargo, reigniting the case that had haunted Texas law enforcement for years. Detectives believed she had murdered Adon to eliminate the only person who could expose her. If that theory was true, Vanessa had crossed the line from fraud to cold-blooded murder. The FBI reopened the file and began tracing her movements again, focusing on border crossings and international banking records. After months of silence, a pattern emerged. Several small bank transfers appeared across Europe under names similar to Veronica Cardenas. Investigators tracked them to Portugal, where someone matching Vanessa's appearance was living under yet another alias. A special task force worked with Interpol to confirm the lead. Surveillance cameras at Lisbon International Airport caught a woman traveling under a forged U.S. passport, her face partially obscured by sunglasses and a scarf. Her movements were cautious but confident. She appeared to have done this before. When the woman reached customs, officers detained her for questioning over irregularities in her documents. Her fingerprints were taken, and within minutes, the database flashed red. It was Vanessa Camargo, the woman who had fooled her friends, staged her death, and disappeared across continents, was finally caught. She showed no emotion when confronted with the truth, maintaining her silence as investigators listed her crimes: embezzlement, fraud, identity theft, and murder. During a search of her luggage, police found several items linking her to the original crime: an old photograph of her and Sierra Dean, and the same heart-shaped locket Sierra had worn before she died. The discovery confirmed what detectives had long believed. Sierra's murder had been the foundation of Vanessa's plan, and guilt had followed her wherever she ran. Vanessa was extradited to the United States to face trial. Her courtroom appearance drew massive attention. Once a glamorous event planner, now a woman accused of killing her best friend and betraying everyone who had trusted her. The prosecution called her crime one of the most calculated acts of deception in recent memory. Vanessa's plan had been perfect until greed, paranoia, and ego began to eat away at her control. She had faked her death to start over but ended up trapped by the very lies she created. Her name became a symbol of obsession and deceit, a reminder that some people will destroy everything, including themselves, to escape the truth.